The screaming started before sunrise, and I swear, for a second, I thought maybe it was just one of our goats caught in the fence again. But the longer I listened, the more I realized, nope, this wasn't livestock trouble. This was human drama at a whole new level, and all before I'd even finished flipping pancakes. My wife's voice was cool, unflappable, the kind you only get after 20 years in law enforcement. But the other voice? That was Karen, the HOA president, shrieking in our gravel driveway, cell phone out, ready to record what she clearly thought was her personal episode of Cops. Neighborhood edition. I ran out there barefoot, sleep shirt hanging off my shoulder, and what I saw made me freeze right on the porch steps. Karen was blocking the drive, phone in one hand, finger wagging at my wife Melissa, who stood arms crossed, badge gleaming. The ranch gate hung open behind her, one hinge creaking, and Karen was accusing Melissa of trespassing and threatening the community. I'll never forget Melissa's answer. Calm, measured, but pure steel. Ma'am, you came through our fence without permission. That's criminal trespass. I need you to step back now. But Karen, she just doubled down, screaming into the phone. I'm calling the cops. There's a dangerous woman on my street pretending to be the police. And right then, I realized. Karen had just called the police on the new county chief of police, my wife. It's funny now, but in the moment, I felt like the world had tilted on its axis. Melissa slowly unzipped her jacket, revealing the full uniform beneath, just as the first sirens started howling in the distance, red and blue lights bouncing off the barn walls. But before I get ahead of myself, let me back up a sec, because the road to this showdown started 3 months earlier, when we bought our little slice of heaven just outside Pine Hill Estates. That we dreamed of this for years, a patch of green pasture, a barn that needed love, a creek curling through the backfield. Melissa's promotion to chief was the final push. We left the city, found our spot on the edge of the old subdivision, land technically outside the HOA, but close enough for busybodies like Karen to get ideas. First few weeks, we kept to ourselves, painted the porch, fixed fences, let the goats and chickens settle in. Then the notes started appearing, no names, just rules. Gate must be HOA approved gray. No black. Next one, no livestock allowed within Pine Hill jurisdiction. Never mind that we weren't even under their control. Melissa gave Karen the benefit of the doubt, even showed up to an HOA meeting, boots muddy, handshake firm. Karen looked her up and down like she was tracking mud on a white carpet. Made it clear, she didn't want animals, she didn't want outsiders, and she sure didn't want a woman with a badge living next door. That was the beginning of the war. Karen walking her dog by our fence every day, snapping photos, muttering about public safety and a zoo in the neighborhood. She even yelled at Tony, our ranch hand, for rinsing boots by the creek, accusing him of environmental violations. It got weird when we put up a security camera. Coyotes had been sniffing around, but Karen was convinced it was all about her. She waved her arms, yelled about privacy invasion, trespassed twice, and ignored every polite warning. Soon she was showing up with the whole HOA board in tow, pointing at our barn, complaining that Melissa's patrol vehicle made the place look like a crime scene. One board member, Bob, gray hair, kind eyes, actually tried to broker peace. Maybe if you paint the gate gray, plant a hedge? Melissa nodded, but Karen was relentless. You're not above the rules, even if you pretend to be law enforcement. That's when Melissa pulled out her badge, said flat, I'm not pretending. Karen just laughed. Next morning, she walked straight onto our land with a phone, ready to document violations. Melissa asked her to leave. Karen called 911 on the police chief. As the sirens wailed, I watched the gears grind in Karen's head, not quite catching up to what she'd started. When the officers arrived, one looked at Melissa and saluted. Karen's face drained of color. But then, as the officers were sorting things out, Karen dropped her purse and out slid a silver master key, the kind issued only to HOA board members, supposed to stay at the office. The officer turned it over, read the tag, and asked Melissa, Chief, isn't this only for authorized inspections? Karen started stammering about official business, but even her own board members backed away. The officer turned to Melissa. Press charges? Karen gasped. You can't do that. I'm the victim here. But Sergeant Daniels, another officer, cut in. Karen, you're trespassing on the county chief's private land. Karen's jaw hit the gravel. Melissa, ever the diplomat, decided not to press charges yet. Let's see if she behaves, she told me. But I could see the wheels turning in her mind. A week later, the mailbox filled up. 5 citations from the HOA, each more absurd than the last. Wrong paint color, illegal camera, aggressive livestock, threatening signage, and, my favorite, impersonating law enforcement. Melissa's hands shook reading that one, and that night, she fired off a barrage of emails. County clerk, sheriff, zoning board, even the mayor, attaching deeds, maps, and a clear message. We are not under HOA jurisdiction. These citations are illegal. The next day, Karen showed up at Melissa's office, pacing the lobby, accusing her of abusing power. Melissa met her with all the patience in the world, told her, "You're doing a fine job making yourself look bad. I don't have to help." That night, Bob, the kind board member, met us at the ranch, handed over a folder of documents, fake citations, board minutes, evidence Karen had been targeting anyone she didn't like for years. That was the twist. This wasn't about us. It was about a whole pattern. And as if to prove it, our barn burned down 3 nights later. Flames lit up the sky, smoke stung our eyes, and out by the tree line, I saw Karen standing, arms crossed, watching. She didn't flinch when I shouted, just turned and walked into the woods. The fire department found evidence of arson, but no clear suspect. The days after were quiet, too quiet. Melissa buried herself in paperwork, building a case. People started coming forward. A young woman, Casey, had lost her home over a rainbow flag. Others called, emailed, slipped notes in our mailbox. Karen had been bullying the neighborhood for years, using kickbacks from a local developer to push out undesirable owners. One afternoon, while Melissa documented witness statements, I came home to find our office trashed, papers everywhere, her laptop gone. "You should have just left," scrawled on the whiteboard. But Melissa had seen it coming. She'd backed up everything. She'd even followed Karen that morning, photographing her meeting a shady developer already under federal indictment. But then Karen struck back, filed a complaint, got Melissa suspended for harassment and misconduct. Her badge sat on the counter, untouched, and for the first time since we moved in, it felt like maybe the bullies would win. But Melissa? She's not wired that way. She went public, uploaded every document, video, and audio recording to a public site. Stories poured in. Reporters started sniffing around. The mayor's office called. Karen's support crumbled, but Karen went nuclear, showed up at our gate, tried to serve a lien on the property. Melissa just smiled, pointed out the exemption on our deed, and as Karen sputtered, a black SUV pulled up, county investigator with a formal investigation in hand, linking Karen to federal bribery and arson. Within hours, Melissa was reinstated. But before we could breathe, another fire broke out, this time with evidence. Boot prints leading straight to Karen's house. Search warrants flew. Cops stormed Karen's place, found HOA records, unregistered guns, even a tub of spare master keys. She was arrested on her own porch, screaming about setups and conspiracies. Over the next weeks, her world unraveled. Her ally, the disgraced treasurer, turned state's witness, confessed to everything. Forged documents, planted GPS trackers, scare tactics, arson. The city council dissolved the HOA, handing oversight to real authorities. Melissa stood before a packed town hall and said, "I didn't fight because I'm chief of police. I fought because everyone deserves to feel safe in their home." People cried. The town cheered. Bob, the old board member, shook her hand. "You gave us our voice back. We rebuilt. Barn stronger, badge number above the door. Goats came home. Peace returned." Karen stayed in jail, her trial a national example of HOA abuse. And some nights, under the stars, Melissa leans into me and laughs, remembering when Karen tried to call the cops on the cop. Justice, in the end, wasn't a courtroom victory. It was knowing we were home, truly home, at last. So, let me ask you, where do you draw the line between standing up and standing down? Would you take on the whole system, knowing the cost, just to protect what's right? Drop your thoughts below. What does justice look like where you live? And would you have fought back? Let's talk about it.